And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore. We never sit out. It's week two. Week one. Boy, did it did it deliver. We got great people like I saw on Twitter. Oh my gosh, how could you say that college football is better than the NFL when you saw like they posted a screenshot with like a bunch of blowout games like with FCS schools and Power Four schools. There were 18 one possession games this past weekend. 18 of them. The NFL will not even play 18 games this coming week. So, sorry, greatest sport on the earth. So, we're here to talk about week two. We got 8 games that we want to preview for y'all. We want to give some best bets. CD's a little bit hot. We're going to give you some of our dirtiest dogs. CD is also hot there. Dude is steaming like a piston right now. And yeah, and people will look at this week two slate, and we said this last year, man. People are going to look at this week two slate and be disappointed with what they get. And there's going to be some dynamite going on this weekend. All right. It may not necessarily happen in the games that we're going to be previewing, but one, great games. We have rivalry central here. We got Ole Miss Kentucky rematch from last year after like Kentucky embarrassed them and basically kicked them out of the college football playoffs. Kansas and Missouri, two teams that looked really good last week. What's going to happen there? Michigan and Oklahoma. Boston College with Dylan Lonergan. Sadie, let's go. I'm pretty hyped here.
Yeah, how could we forget Cyhawk, one of the most underrated rivalries in all of college football? We'll be talking about that for sure. Yeah, a lot of super intriguing. It feels like we're going to learn a lot about tier 2 and tier 3 of conferences with these games we're previewing and with this weekend, just because of the way they're matched up with each other and all that good stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, make sure you guys like, make sure you guys subscribe, make sure you guys share, all that good stuff. Thanks for joining us this season on the Redshirt Sophomore. Having a lot of fun. Yeah, we're seeing the board incredibly well right now. I will say, 4-2 with the best bets. We hit on one of our dirty dogs, which is big time for us. Obviously, Rice.
Shout out Food.
Shout out Food. Scott Abel getting it done. And they'll be also making another appearance in this episode. Matthew's got him, I think, on his best bets in a different way. So we'll have fun with that. But yeah, excited to talk about week 2.
Yeah, and also too, if you don't know who Scott Abel is, who's the coach of Rice, you can check out. We made a video in that on the off season. It's pretty thorough, and you'll see why. Like Scott Abel is kind of an exciting hire, although he didn't really show all the reasons that we thought he was going to be an exciting hire. Wasn't necessarily demonstrated against Louisiana. With like the different style offense. You saw it, right? But you didn't see it explode or pop or anything. You just saw Rice grind him down. Come on. Plus 350 for CD. Bang. Let's go. What do you say we just get into it, CD?
Yeah, let's do it.
Illinois at Duke. CD, why is this line at 3? Because I keep going over it in my head. I'm like, what position is Duke legitimately better at than Illinois? And I just keep going through it, and I'm like, is there a position that Duke is better, surefire, sure-handedly better than Illinois at?
There's players like I really like. Well, obviously Darren Mensah is really good, but
Right.
like Luke Altmaier, we also love on this show too.
Yeah,
Like
little Luke Altmaier bias on the show. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Jacquez Moore, right? We love the running back, but there's a 3-headed monster on Illinois for them too. I do really like Brian Parker, the right tackle, but that's one player on that offensive line that's going to have their hands full with Gabe Yakus and other players for Illinois defensively. Chandler Rivers, right? Like he's a really good player, but Illinois also has a really deep experience, like secondary that's like good working together. I don't know. And yet the line is 3, and yet Manny Diaz, here we are again, probably trying to doubt him. And I'll say it right now, I'm picking Illinois -3 here. And I might regret that. But to me, and even Duke, like Mensah played great. Like he got it done, but they didn't.
Yeah, it took
They
him a little
didn't
bit to
come
get
on.
going, but
Yeah.
it was there. The talent showed itself, right? The talent showed itself. I'm gonna, I'll take Duke. And honestly, even though I just said, and I'm sure Duke fans are gonna be in our comments talking to us like how we don't know this roster or whatever. Like Bruno Fina as your left tackle. Come on, like. I was the Duke hater last year. I'm like, okay, every week I'm picking them to lose, right?
Yeah.
Every single week I smashed their win total under, and I'm like, they cannot keep getting away with this, right? They can't keep getting away with this. But I feel like this is a situation. This is pure just guts. This is no knowledge. This is Duke +3 and then to win is a gut pick for me. It's like we're supposed to pick Illinois -3 CD, but I'm not gonna fall for it. All right, we're gonna go with Duke +3, and if Illinois smashes them, so be it for me. Right? We do like the talent in the secondary for sure. Also, I will say, like Illinois, like how well do you think CD Altmaier handles the blitz and pressure in his face?
That's the one thing I did want to bring. I had a note here about Duke's defense, and we know Manny Diaz likes to dial it up, right? So that's part of the identity of this Duke defense. But they still they had 13 pressures against Elon last week, right? They were credited with 13 pressures. 6 of those came from players that come off the ball. So that's your typical Manny Diaz, like get after him. Like, here's the thing. Like, is it crazy like to trust Barry Lundy Jr. to have a counter for that? And Luke Altmaier, who's seen a lot of college football in his career, and you had obviously Hank Beatty, come out and like play a really efficient, 13 route runs and over 100 receiving yards. Obviously, it was Western Illinois. The step up will be immense, right? But you've got LZ, you've got a couple of guys in that room. You're hoping to step up. That's going to be the question. I will say though, I would like to see Illinois go into Duke and like physical them up on both sides of the ball. That's why I'm picking them to do it. I think they can with those running backs, Laurie, Fegan, even Valentine got going at times. That's what I'm expecting. If I'm an Illinois fan, if I'm checking out, taking Illinois -3, the blitz is going to be important. Like the battle between Manny Diaz and Barry Lundy Jr. is going to be really interesting, and what happens in that kind of off the field with those coaches going at each other. That's a good point though. I trust Altmaier more than a lot of other quarterbacks going against Manny Diaz, but still, that could be the issue there.
The mistakes, though, it's sometimes they spiral for him. Like when there's no answer, to pressure, like it can sometimes spiral a little bit out of control. So if Manny Diaz is dialing it, but we talked about this in the previews, like we don't hate Illinois' offensive line, they got some serious studs. But yeah, it's going to be like if Manny Diaz wins this game, it's like, okay, like that was a Manny Diaz game, And sure, Darian Mensah could throw for 250 yards and like 2 touchdowns and like have a good game himself. And, the offense could do some stuff too, but I don't know. I'm kind of anticipating this being a little bit of a low scoring game. I kind of anticipate this being 24-21, kind of in that range. If it gets higher than that, I think that's going to be leaning in the favor of Illinois. So for Duke's sake and for my sake, picking them +3. Let's hope these Blue Devils can muck it up a little bit against the Illinois at home. At home. So we forget that, but rowdy environment there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. Has to be a trap, CD. In my eyes, it has to be a trap.
I'm falling for it.
Cyhawk. Iowa travels to Ames, Iowa, against the Iowa State Cyclones. Hawkeyes are catching 3. Now, Gronowski didn't exactly look like the quarterback that I expected him to be, that first week. See, I don't like overreacting to week 1 stuff, CD, but did I fall for it again? Like, with an Iowa offense? Like, did I fall for it again?
Listen, it was bad. It was bad, and I think Iowa fans can understand that. And it didn't get much better because you went down in the third quarter with cramping issues. I mean, that first of all, that should not happen from your quarterback against who did they even play last week? It was Albany, right? University of Albany, and the Great Danes, right? Yeah, that's inexcusable. However, you did see some bright spots. Like Xavier Williams is a dude for you at running back. He has like actual juice. The freshman you got out of Indiana. So that's fun, especially if you're replacing, you've got obviously Caleb Johnson in the NFL. LaShawn Williams is down there at Kansas doing his thing. The big loss here is Reese Vandersee, right? The guy you thought was going to be your wide receiver one, and he's not healthy, and they need him because Jacob Gill and Seth Anderson and whoever else is trotting out there at wide receiver, they're just not cutting it, and so it's hard to judge Gronowski like on that scale. He wasn't good though. He really wasn't, and it's going to take him time probably to adjust to this Iowa offense. It doesn't get easier though going on the road to Iowa State. Iowa State team that's like looked really good, and yes, like they mucked it up against Kansas State at times, and Kansas State ended up kind of giving them the game.
Weather thing
Weird
too,
weather. You're in Ireland, but then you came back. If you're Iowa State, I was me very impressed with what they did against South Dakota. Like there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, trap game. South Dakota's talented." Aiden Bowman, right, Minnesota native. They got a lot of different things there. And Rocco Beck, what is he? 19 of 20, 278 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Yeah, man, holy cow, was I impressed? And they got it done there at home, and they'll do it again this week, I think. But do I hate to pick against Iowa in this game? It's going to be weird though. You also, last thing I'll say here before I turn it back to you, is in the Cyhawk game, like history shows, you just have to throw everything away. Like whatever happens in week 1 or week 0 in this case, you have to just kind of, it doesn't matter. When they come, this is a brand new season, brand new rosters. You just kind of throw everything out and just enjoy a great game, a great rivalry game. It means something, and it has the past couple of years. How exciting is that for the state of Iowa?
I'll fade you here. I'll take the points with Iowa, and I'll take them to win. It's tough to go on the road like that, but the thing is like those margins that Iowa State, those mistakes that Kansas State made, right, in that game, in the rain, in Ireland, those are the mistakes that Iowa forces you to make.
Yeah.
You know? So those are the margins we're talking about. And if you think Iowa is pretty comparable to Kansas State, now Kansas State, once again, did not look very good this past weekend. So, like, again, hard to go from week 1 to week 2. Well, in this case, week 0, week 1. Like, judge, like you said, like, make these immediate overreactions. So I'm not going to overreact. I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with the thing that I would have picked preseason, which would have been Iowa with the points, even on the road. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to chuck out week 0 and week 1. I'm just going to get it out of here. And I'm going to trust, a solid, but maybe less talented Iowa defense than what we've seen and what we're used to with Phil Parker, although it probably will still be very good. And I'm just banking on, like, even though Iowa's offense was bad, Christopher, it was still marginally better than we've seen it in past years. Marginally.
Then 2023. Yes, 2024 offense was much better than they put out.
Okay, but it was Caleb Johnson, right? And by the way, you didn't really discover who he was until like what, week 3, week 4?
Yeah, against Minnesota. Yeah, he just kind of well, no, it was against Iowa State. He had a monster game against Iowa State.
Oh, that is true.
And but maybe that's Xavier Williams.
And then they threw it away. Remember, Iowa just blew it in the end.
Well, and that's the thing with this game is wild. And listen, maybe I should learn. I love what you're doing. It's like picture what you had preseason and just go with your gut on that because it doesn't matter.
For this specific game.
For this specific
the other games,
game.
I'm making like legitimate judgment calls.
Yeah,
well,
you learn.
Duke game, I'm like trap game. All right, so I'm just throwing out all my knowledge. Give me the points with Duke there in the trap game. Here, it's like it's one of those rivalries where I just and with how Kansas State, how bad they were, and like
the Big 12 did not look good.
FCS teams like this past week, like I'm like, I don't even want to evaluate, but if we are going to look at something in their offense, I feel like it still was. Kansas State was not really able to run the ball. I think that the way that I thought they would be able to run the ball against Iowa State. So that is what makes me nervous. Like if for some reason Iowa State all of a sudden is defending the run at a half decent clip, yeah, taking Iowa with the points scares me a little bit, but I just gotta trust Phil Parker here catching points in Cyhawk. By the way, this also screams 19-17. Like that 3 matters in this rivalry. How many games in this rivalry have legitimately been determined by more than 3 points in the last 5 years? I would love to know that stat because it feels like that doesn't really happen all that often. Last year it
No,
was 2019, year before 20-13, one possession game. Then the year before it was 10-7, 27-17, sure, 18-17. I mean, these are all one possession games with the exception of that 2021 year, but come on. I mean, this is as good as it gets. I mean, you could want to go back further. There's 2017. There's 9-6, 44-41 in triple overtime in 2011. Come on, 2007, 15, 13. That 3 matters, man. That 3 matters in this rivalry.
it does. I mean, that over under is 41.5 too. So you're looking at a game in the high teens, low 20s, right? For what Vegas says. Last thing I will say is I believe Iowa State can move the ball, right? So that's why I trust them to be able to do that. So, and they're at home. That's why I picked them to win this game. The reality, though, is if you're an Iowa fan or if you're an Iowa State fan, like you're familiar with this Iowa team and like how they win games. They don't have to move the ball to win games. So they realistically, like Iowa State could outgain them by 100, 150 yards, and they could still lose this game. That's the worrisome. And if you do get marginal improvement from Gronowski, or let's call it actual improvement, like because marginal improvement from 44 yards is like 75 yards, and then you're going back.
Dude, he missed some throws in a pretty ugly way.
I think it's just first game jitters. I expect him to be better than that, and I still expect Iowa State to win and cover. But if you do get like a good to like below average Mark Gronowski, yeah, like that could be a dangerous thing for Iowa State. But yeah, what a game though! It's gonna be so much fun. There'll be packed house there, Jack Trice Stadium. Obviously, like this is a big game. It's not conference play, so in terms of conference standings, doesn't really matter in that. But we know how important it is in the state of Iowa, the Cy-Hawk Trophy, all that good stuff. It's what makes you love college football.
Baylor at SMU. Baylor's catching 3 after a pretty, we'll call it ugly loss, because even though you were kind of in it there at the end of the game, defensively, I think it was even worse than the score dictates. Like, that was bad. On the defensive front, you were getting mauled. 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 And it's not like SMU can't run the ball either. It's not like they have, a G5 offensive line. No, 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 no. They have a Power 4 offensive line. You're going to be going up. Not one as good as Auburn, right? And I think Auburn, preseason, they were getting, top 15, top 10 projections as an offensive line unit. Okay. And maybe that ends up playing out as the season goes along. But I think still, even watching that game, it was ugly for David Randa and his defense there. The bright side, that passing attack was electric. Sawyer Robinson didn't have it every single throw, but it was enough. Cole Wilson being awesome, Ashton Hawkins being great. And where the hell was Josh Cameron? You literally didn't see him all game until, a garbage time 27-yard catch with like the last couple plays of the game. And then another big catch before that in the fourth quarter. Like, even with Josh Cameron not going, you can still see this passing attack being as elite as it is. And Bryson Washington at running back, of course, probably didn't even get enough carries, but you were down in the game for a lot of it. So this is a really talented offense. It is the defense that I am concerned about. And SMU, I mean, they're coming off a college football playoff appearance. They're still talented at the running back spot. You got TJ Harden in the transfer portal. Derek McFall is there. Chris Johnson Jr. I mean, you got 3 guys that you really like in there. And then, I mean, still a talented team. And particularly on the offensive line, by the way, who some of these transfers look to be pretty solid that you got. Oh, CD, the mute button just annihilated you.
Oh, what are we doing? Just breaking off some rust here. It's only week 2. Forgive me. But I was going to say, like, this is a great matchup in terms of like East Texas, like Dallas, Fort Worth area, right? Waco with Baylor against Dallas. So, like, I love that they're playing this game, first of all, even though they're not in the same conference. I don't know if there's a huge history there between the two teams. I'd expect there not to be really, but I love that. Last thing I will say about like non-game related stuff is why is this on the CW network? Can I just say that? Like, do better, the ACC. Like, okay, that's all I'll say. And I know you fans probably some people like the CW. If you get it and you get it quickly, like that's great for you. But it's pretty hard to watch, and I don't know. That's just it. To the game though, Baylor plus 3.5. They're getting 3 against SMU. I think for the national fans, I think it's hard to get that taste out of your mouth of the first half against Penn State. The last time you saw SMU was that game, right? Kevin Jennings turning the ball over, just struggling in the red zone, fourth down, miss that, a lot of bad stuff. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, and that led to you being down a whole heck of a lot of points against Penn State. But I think this team is better than that, and like they're still a pretty talented team, even though you lost Redshirt Smith and some others to the NFL. Kevin Jennings is awesome. It's nice to see Romello Brinson have a good game. RJ Maryland, nice to see him back. Jalen Cooper, the freshman. So there's like a lot of talent here on that offense, especially. It will be really, really interesting to see, how these defenses play, because I don't think anyone's questioning the quarterbacks, the play callers, or anything to do with the offenses of these teams. It's going to be about their defenses and like their ability to win their conferences and to go far this season is going to be dependent on their defense getting stops. And it starts with this game because we know how dynamic these two teams will be. I want to see Bryson Washington get going more for Baylor as a running back. He got a little banged up in that game. I know you talked about them getting down early and other stuff, kind of game script, kind of wrote him off there, but would still like to see him get more. You could stay patient with the running game, even though it's hard to take the ball out of Sawyer Robertson and like all those receivers. Like they give you such a problem because Michael Trigg, first of all, too, at tight end is dynamic. He's a physical freak. And what he does after the catch, too, is sometimes very, very impressive. But like, I want to see SMU like go up against their 13 personnel, where it's Bryson Washington, Michael Trigg, Cole Wilson, all like you mentioned Josh Cameron, Ashton Hawkins, like all those guys. Like holy cow, are that 11 really good football players on for Baylor? How can SMU handle that? On the opposite side, like Baylor just struggled against the quarterback run specifically, and also stopping the run on first and second down. That is concerning, to say the least. Although, like, I did think they were playing a little bit further back to stop the elite receivers that Auburn had. But honestly, like, yes, the talent at receiver gets probably worse it does get worse for SMU, but the threat of a passing game that SMU has on Baylor is bigger. Like, the SMU passing threat is a better passing offense than what Auburn produced you. So like that's going to be one that's going to be interesting to watch here. Like what does Dave Aranda do to stop that? And like how does he adjust with his team kind of getting shredded in a lot of different ways defensively? With all that being said, I'm going to go with Baylor plus 3, and I hate to do that. But I did think like in a game where I feel like these teams are pretty evenly matched, let me just take the team getting points, and that's kind of where I'll go with it, even though they're on the road. Obviously, if this is neutral site, it'd be a pick 'em. It's at about 3 points for home field advantage. So Vegas thinks they're very even. I love the matches between these two. I think you'll have a play on this game, not necessarily the spread, which will be interesting to see, talk about later on in the episode. But yeah, give me Baylor plus 3.
Yeah, I'll take Baylor in a shootout. SMU, it took them a little bit, and maybe they got all of the rust off, offensively, but it took them to the fourth quarter to score their third offensive touchdown, which I know, like, whatever, it's week one game, yada, yada, yada. Let's not take too much into account. And that's not why I'm necessarily making this pick. I think preseason, I talked about this with Iowa State, like, I had Baylor being a significantly better team, and you do have to use what you saw a little bit, but I just don't want to overreact. I gotta believe that Dave Rand is gonna have something dialed up in there, and I know the SMU is still a good team, but in a shootout, which is what I think this is gonna be, I'll trust Sawyer Robertson in this elite offense. And SMU may also seem like they're an elite offense as well with the defense that Baylor's gonna be trotting out there, and they are pretty good, but in a shootout, I mean, I like Baylor. And by the way, too, it's not like you can just comfortably play ahead of Baylor, right? You're up 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. Like, you're not safe from Baylor. You're not safe. You have a couple drives where you stall an offense or you turn the ball over. Like, it's scary. So, um, And I don't necessarily feel the same way about SMU's offense. We're like, oh my gosh, you're freaking out. If you still have to feel like you have to put your foot on their throat. Even if you're up 2 touchdowns. Like, I don't know. So I'll take the points here. I'm like you. I'm just excited to watch this game. Don't have a super heavy conviction either way. But let's go. Let's catch ourselves a good game. Two good quarterbacks, two interesting coaches here. I mean, you love to see it. Ole Miss at Kentucky. Revenge game? Because Kentucky last year beat Ole Miss. They beat Ole Miss and basically knocked them out of the playoffs after man, I thought Kentucky was going to be good last year. And they were just not. And it somehow got even worse, from a roster perspective. Toledo was in that ball game, man. I mean, one Dante Dowdle 75-yard touchdown away from that game's going overtime, you know? And how about Tucker Gleason also brutally threw that pick on his first play, his first pass of the season. And then Kentucky goes down and Calzada sneaks it in. Like, a couple of things had to happen for Kentucky just for them to beat Toledo at home. It's 10.5 right here. I mean, even with what happened last year, I think this means a lot to Ole Miss. And the fact that it's only 10.5 is kind of crazy to me. I'll take Ole Miss. I'll lay the minus 10.5. I don't care.
Screams trap game, and it's terrifying. But I'm gonna be big on Ole Miss. I think I'll talk about them later with my best bets in terms of how I feel about them covering the spread. But yeah, I mean, you talked about Toledo. Toledo moved the ball, and I know Toledo's a talented football team, like more so than you expect from your MAC opponent. And that coaching staff is pretty good. And Tucker Gleason's a very solid quarterback. I didn't think they were crazy sharp. Like when I watched that game, I thought Toledo left points on the board.
In the
And
red
that,
zone, that first red zone trip,
yeah,
where they turn
yeah,
it over on down. They turn it over on downs twice inside of their 10-yard line.
yeah.
Talk
And
about leaving points on the board.
Tucker Gleason was about a little over 50% completion percentage. That couldn't run the ball with any kind of efficiency. Like I have a hard time believing Lane Kiffin struggles to run the ball. I have a hard time believing Austin Simmons doesn't come out and throw the ball all over the yard, even though he had 2 interceptions and one of them was pretty bad. I get that. Ole Miss, you still had Kwan Lacey and Logan Diggs. That's a nice 1-2 punch there. It's nice to see Trey Wallace, the wide receiver transfer from Penn State, get out there. DeQuan Wright, Deshaun Scribbling is another piece there, and also Caleb Oden and what they do with him, moving him inside and outside. And then Trinidad Chambliss, the kind of change of pace quarterback you have. You do some fun packages with him in short yardage situation. I know Georgia State kind of moved the ball a little bit early on in that game against Ole Miss, and Georgia State's not very good, right? So it's going to be a big step up considering Kentucky is, even though Calzada was not good, he struggled with accuracy and consistency. He was 10 of 23. Like, yeah, you said Dante Dowdle, like him and Seth McGowan ran extremely hard and well for them, which is awesome. The question I have in this game, like, yes, Kentucky's at home. Like, does Kentucky have enough offense to stay in this game long enough if their defense can muck it up on the young quarterback, right? That's their only chance I'm seeing in this game if you're Kentucky.
Yeah. And see, here's the thing, if you like Kentucky in this game for some reason, can I interest you in just taking the first half under or something? Because I'm looking at 26.5. I won't be taking it because I think turnovers from quarterbacks that are turnover prone could lead to lots of points in this first half, particularly. But you can't take Kentucky first half plus 5.5. You can't do it, right? But I could definitely see, 13-3 game at halftime, maybe 20-3. 20-3 cashes for you, But I don't know, man. Zach Calzada really did not look good, and I think he reminded everyone really quickly why he didn't make it the first time around as an SEC starting quarterback, and it was bad. Defensively, though, Kentucky looked pretty solid. Like, they were sharp. They got pressure on Tucker Gleason, albeit against a much lesser offensive line than you're going to be seeing with Ole Miss. But boy, I mean, and here's the thing: like, we get caught with our pants down all the time. Last year, when this game rolled around, I don't remember if I bet on it, but I would have absolutely hammered Ole Miss in this game last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here we are. Only you can get it at 10, by the way. Somewhere, a lot of these places, if you like it, get it at 10. Don't get it at 10 and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I will say it's good to see the lefty quarterback is back. We are so back. The
so
Cal
back.
kid is awesome. Ole Miss, Austin Simmons. I cannot wait to watch him. I think
Gio Lopez slinging the pill
Gio
tonight.
Lopez, what he's doing over in Chapel Hill, like it's making Tim Tebow, Kellen Moore, Tua, Pat White, guys like that smile. Jared Lorenzen, like just smile because
Jared
I know
Lorenzen.
RIP. But it's just great to see. I love nothing more than a
Owen
frisky
McCown.
Owen McCown. Nothing more than a frisky lefty quarterback at college football, and Simmons is awesome. I think he'll be really good in this game. I think Lane Kiffin, like, yeah, it's a lot of new players on that team. A lot of those guys went to the NFL, and you got some transfers in, and all that good stuff. But I think you talked about the beginning, like this game means something for Ole Miss, and I think they still expect to do big things, and they know this year they cannot afford to lose a game like this, even though it's on the road. You're double-digit favorites. Have to put them away. Like, learn from Alabama, learn from other teams that have had that kind of stuff. So I expect Ole Miss to come out and put their foot down against Kentucky.
Missouri hosts Kansas. At least I believe they're hosting them. The spread in this game is 6.5. Only. Here's the thing, though. Kansas, phenomenal game against Fresno State. And Jalen Daniels looks like he has a rocket attached to his arm. He
It's good to
looks
see
like
him.
he looks healthy for like the first time in like what 3 years.
Yeah,
He looks healthy.
scary.
Now
It's scary.
Missouri in their game against Central Arkansas looked really good. Bo Pribula looked awesome. Their offensive line, looked like they were road grading. Uh, Amon Hardy. I mean, Missouri looked really good in their game. And honestly, like the more I kept looking at Missouri's roster, like these last couple weeks, I'm like, maybe this is like a better team than I thought it was going to be. Like I thought this was for sure going to be a bottom half SEC team, and as we get closer to the games like this, like I'm not so sure. This team might be a little bit better than I originally thought. And now Kansas, after Fresno State, walloped Georgia Southern. I thought it just might be like, oh, first year Matt Entz. Is that what we're going to see? Well, hopefully we'll see some games in the Mountain West. And then absolutely, as a dog, you were a road dog against Georgia Southern and you pounded them. So maybe Kansas is just really good. But yeah, it's things like that, though, CD, like we just love overreacting to in week 1 and in week 0, right? So, I mean, I see this, though, at 6.5. I think that's too many when you got a young quarterback over there in Missouri. When Jalen Daniels is healthy and Lance Leipold is in his bag, right? And Blake Baker is gone. Now this defense I thought was pretty decent last year. I mean, you just promoted from within. It's fine. Even after you lost all that NFL talent and your star young defensive coordinator, maybe I like Kansas in the spot, CD. I think I'll take them plus 6.5. I'll take Missouri to win, though, in a very close one. But I I like Kansas here, man. I don't know. Convince me otherwise, unless you're on the same boat as me.
Yeah, I'm on Kansas here. I just
Nice.
was super impressed. And by the way, to go off of your Fresno State and how impressive that win actually was, they went out and they ran for 350 yards against Georgia Southern. And Kansas held them to 1.3 yards per carry on 29 attempts for a total of 37 yards. That was incredibly impressive. And if you're breaking in a new quarterback, I know Pribula has played a lot of football. I know he's played obviously at Penn State, in certain packages. If you can stop the run, you stop Ahmad Harvey and Bo Pribula, and you make him Pribula beat you with his arm. Yes, I know Marcus Johnson, Kevin Coleman, Joshua Manning. There's some good talent in that wide receiver room. Even though you graduated, it sounds like, or you've lost a couple really talented players the past couple of years. from that room. I don't know, man. I like Kansas here, and I know they're banged up a little bit. LaShawn Williams should be good to go at running back, but even if you don't, like Daniel Highshaw and a healthy Daniels with him running the football, it will be plenty, I think, in this game. Bangley Kamara, unfortunately, the linebacker transfer from South Carolina, he's hurt. So John Kamara is not the guy there, but uh, Emmanuel Henderson is a good, explosive wide receiver for. You saw that in week 1, really, game 2 for them. He's at like Alabama. Like he was returning kicks for Alabama. He was doing things. They were trying to get him the ball when he was healthy for them. Like I expect, this offense to really target him and watch for him to be a dynamic player. That Missouri defense will be very interesting because they will have their hands full. Don't have too much to go on because Central Arkansas is Central Arkansas, right? But it was nice to see the Georgia transfer, right? Damon Wilson get a couple sacks and flash a little bit for you in that game. So we'll see if that kind of trends over and that builds up to this game as well against Kansas. But I have to believe, even at home or even on the road, I guess, for Kansas, I expect them to go in there and take care of business. I think they have a sour taste in their mouth after last year. Like I was high on them, and they got hurt. They got banged up, and they lost some key players, and Daniels never really got healthy until later in the season. And they actually still had a chance to win that Big 12, but I took them to win the Big 12 as a long shot there. And yeah, this feels like the team we were missing last year, and that team is a dangerous team. So I like Kansas here on the road, 6.5. Yeah, give me Kansas.
Also, like this offensive line, like if you're worried about Kansas's offensive line matching up with like an SEC defensive line, do not worry about that. Like this is a pretty good offensive line, man. And by the way, when has that ever stopped Lance Leipold anyways from dialing it up in the run game? And playing off of that, I mean, you like Bryce Foster was an all Big 12 player last year. Michael Ford is gone, but you like some of the other pieces on this offensive line. I think that they can maybe handle a little bit of pressure from Missouri. Jalen Daniels, a veteran. I'll trust the veteran quarterback on the road here. Yeah, let's go. Kansas plus 6.5. Come on. Arizona State is traveling to Starkville, play Mississippi State. This game last year, Arizona State got off to a hot start, and then Mississippi State kind of came back, and I don't know if they covered it backdoor, but I think it ended up, not initially being super competitive, but it ended up being a respectful game, late there in the fourth quarter. Line's only at 7. College football playoff team, Arizona State, and one of the Big 12 favorites is only a 7-point favorite against Mississippi State. We talked about Mississippi State in their preview this year. This is a way better roster from just a season ago. Way better roster. I think Southern Miss is actually a pretty decent team in the Sun Belt. They should be fine down there. And early on, I know it looked a little bit, Southern Miss able to run the ball. Oh no, Mississippi State, what's going on there? But yeah, you just hitched your wagon to Fluff Bothwell and Devon Booth, and Blake Shapen ended up getting things going, even with the loss of Kevin Coleman and the loss of, actually not Kevin. Yeah, was he on that team last year?
Yep.
And then Mario Craver as well. You still were able to find some guys. I thought Anthony Evans was pretty solid. Brendan Thompson was
Deep
really
threat.
nice. Yeah, he had a touchdown called back too, like a big touchdown called back in that game as well. And he represented you at SEC Media Days, a guy that really couldn't crack those wide receiver rooms at Oklahoma and Texas the way that he wanted to. So, yeah, interesting work too from this defense here. I'll roll with Mississippi State plus 7, Arizona State to win. Not going to feel great about that, but wasn't super impressed with Arizona State week 1. And of course, we'd love to overreact to things that happened during week 1. I think Arizona State will be fine over the course of the season, but that doesn't mean that they won't have a close game here with the Bulldogs of Starkville.
Yeah, I mean, well, last year too, in that game, it was the Cam Scadaboo. It was the Cam Scadaboo show, right? He was 260 yards for you. He was just a monster. 33 carries. Yeah, it was him. And that was before like Sam Levitt like really settled into the role as quarterback. And that was before Jordan Tyson emerged as like your star receiver. Like that Arizona State team they saw in September was a lot different than the team in December that really gave Texas a run for their money. So I do like, yes, we talked about Mississippi State getting much better. Arizona State, that team that they played last year, is a better team than they were last year, and they do have to go on the road. They are 7-point favorites. I was impressed with Mississippi State. I know, that first half was like grinded out against Southern Miss. Like it was the Braylon Braxton show. He's really good, and he's going to give people problems again in the Sun Belt. What he did at Marshall, now he's coming over Southern Miss following Charles Huff. But that defense from Mississippi State, outside of that one like 82-yard drive that Southern Miss had, like, and they made them work for everything they had. So I came away impressed with both teams in that game actually, and then they started leaning on them, and they took over. Plus, Shapen is a good football player for Mississippi State. On the other side, like Levitt and his legs, and then you've got Kyson Brown, who looks awesome. Raleek Brown, who's a very dynamic player. Kanye Udo, the kid from Army transfer. A healthy Jordan Tyson, healthy Shaman Medier. Outside of those two, though, as pass catchers, and then obviously what the two Browns can do out of the backfield, they're dynamic. But like, can another wide receiver step up? Right, like that's going to be huge, I think, for Dillingham and what they can do offensively. And then, yeah, I mean, we talked about Mississippi State. They played fine. I don't know, man. This feels like a lot for me.
The offensive
7
line, though,
points.
was an issue. If it's as bad as it was last week, I'm sorry. If you scale the
Yes.
performance from the Mississippi State offensive line up from last week, saying, okay, Arizona State's this much better than Southern Miss, and you were this bad against Southern Miss, like how bad are you going to be? Yeah, that's something that could definitely be an issue. But also Southern Miss, talked about a little bit more talent, than some of these other teams in the Sun Belt. But Arizona State's going to be bringing a little bit more. And that was a team last year that I'm like, oh man, are we really sure that we like this front seven? You lose your best defensive player. And then boom, their front seven ended up shutting people down. What do they give up? Like less than 4.5 yards a carry on the entire year? Maybe less than that. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. And that would be the thing that it'd be their offensive line is what would lose me that Mississippi State +7 pick right there for sure.
I'm fading you though. I'm going Arizona State -7. I am curious to see the atmosphere down there in Stark Vegas. I hope there's a little bit of buzz growing in that program. I know last year was tough, but I hopefully do right the ship there and what Mississippi State can do this year and compete for a bowl game. But I still like Arizona State. I also think like they have to be desperate. Like this is a huge game for them. Like they have a lot more to lose than Mississippi State does, right? So with what they can do in the postseason, so that's the other thing there. And Dillingham is just awesome, and we love what's his name from Mississippi State, Levy, but Dillingham is awesome.
He's incredible. These are both
They're
incredible
both
coaches. And the thing is, Levy could get canned in the next year or two, literally just because
he's gonna
there's
make a
nothing he
great
can do.
OC again. He's gonna make a great OC again.
Oh my god, I cannot wait to see where he ends up. Now, here's the thing: if you get any lick of defensive talent on this team in future years, or say they just take a big jump, like for the remainder of the year, like he was such a problem last year for so many teams, and people didn't necessarily notice that because of the final score of the game, but like so many explosive plays that Jeff Lebby was dialing up for a true freshman quarterback. You had simultaneously, this is true. If you look at on a down to down basis, it was simultaneously the most explosive by rate. You had the highest explosive rate per standard down. Right, we're not talking about like fourth down or whatever, and like red zone stuff. But like standard downs, you had like the most explosive rate, in the SEC, and also the least efficient. You had both of those, right? And the least efficient part comes from your team just not being as talented as the other teams that you were playing against. And the explosive part, well, it could come from teams gambling, against Mississippi State because they're not very great. Or maybe Jeff Lebby was doing what he was doing at Ole Miss or at Oklahoma or at UCF. Like, Jeff Lebby can dial up the explosive play. I don't know. I'll fade you here, but that's fine. Just gotta find my week 2 dogs, all right? Because guess what? Week 2 is one of those weeks where I feel like the market, doesn't react. The market will never overreact, but fans will, and I will. So I'm trying to just be conservative and throw some dogs into these picks today. Speaking of dogs, Michigan catching 5.5 at Oklahoma.
Jumping up.
Whoa.
What happened? Like
Whoa.
that moved a lot.
That moved significantly.
Can I just say, like, this game to me is so exciting, and with the similarities between these two programs, right? Last year, like, a lot of change happened. So Oklahoma moved in the SEC. Michigan, obviously, with Jim Harbaugh, you have that whole cloud of the NCAA and Connor Stalions issue, like, just kind of overshadowing, like, your whole season, essentially, last year, even though it wasn't too much special to write home about. And now you get a resurgence, right? You get a new quarterback, right? A lot of fun there, returning talent on defense. And now you get to play each other, man. It's going to be so much fun. I expect like a lot of physicality in this game. Like, one thing I was so impressed, like, with these two teams, even though they were losing games last year, they still brought it, and they still had a lot of physicality on both those sides of the ball. So it'll be really interesting. I'm pumped to see like the new look teams. Like, do we see explosive plays? How many of them? Who's making them? What, like, the quarterbacks and their dynamic plays, ways to extend the ball or extend the play, and throw the ball down the field. You've got talented running backs. I mean, holy cow! I cannot wait.
Yeah. John Mateer looked really good in his first game with Ben Arbuckle at Oklahoma. Bryce Underwood, I thought also looked pretty decent too. Justice Haynes, what do you have, 156 yards on 16 carries, 3 touchdowns? I mean, a guy,
Bama
boy.
fans just cringing right now.
Bama
just
fans
cringing.
And we're going to talk about Boston College here in a minute. Cringing watching Dylan Lonergan go crazy. But for this game, I mean, I looked at both these rosters, and I think that this is a very key year for one, both coaches, for two, both teams, because I think that both of these teams are talented enough to make the college football playoffs, right? But the remaining, look at your schedule. Like, you play some tough games. For both of these teams, this feels like a must-win game if the college football playoffs is ultimately your goal. And I know, like, nationally, people might not be thinking, oh, Oklahoma, like, you have them in the college football playoffs. I don't have them in the college football playoffs. I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of level of talent we're talking about. Like, the level of team. And
An
in that
expectation
building,
of that program.
yeah, the expectation of that program. Not to mention, like, I'm sorry, John Mateer's what now? Plus 1,300 to win the Heisman. So yeah, expectations are a little bit high. Gross number that we're picking here, 5.5. I think I would have rolled with Oklahoma at 2.5. I think I still actually will roll with Oklahoma. I'll take them to win. I'll take Oklahoma minus 5.5. I do think Oklahoma with a healthy wide receiver room, another year, and a team that's confident in their quarterback. I think they're a team to look out for here. Now, of course, Michigan, on the other hand, extremely talented at a ton of levels of the ball. Offensively, we saw what they did against New Mexico. I don't love their wide receiver room. I think it's fine. I think it's okay. I love Justice Haynes in that running back room. I think these two running backs are arguably more talented than the ones that they had last year, which is a wild thing to say. Bryce Underwood, just implanting him in this offense just makes your team so much better. The ceiling of your team so much better. And they're still going to be really solid on the defensive side of the ball with everything that they have at all those levels, even losing, your 3 best defensive linemen from a year ago. And you still have the best, probably one of the best linebacking cores in the entire country. I'm going to roll with Oklahoma here, minus 5.5 at home. Don't feel great about it. Would have felt a lot better about it at 2.5.
Yeah, It's really interesting. I am worried about Bryce Underwood, like traveling on the road. I know that's like okay, yeah, young quarterback traveling on the road, but it is something like to worry about. Like we saw how many quarterbacks go on the road this week one and struggle a little bit, especially if they were new to that position of being like the guy on their team. I also think like Bryce Underwood's kind of like the kind of guy that just like, he's got that it factor. So like I'm not too worried about that in terms of him just absolutely imploding. But it will be interesting. Like, and the other thing too, the coaching matchups, right? So Wink Martindale, defensive coordinator from Michigan, versus Ben Arbuckle, offensive coordinator for Oklahoma. Those chess pieces are going to be a lot of fun to watch when Oklahoma has the ball. And then Michigan has the ball. You got Chip Lindsey, Sharon Moore versus Brent Venables, right? And his defense there at Oklahoma. It's really interesting. I'm going to take
What do you trust
Michigan.
more?
Ooh. I love Martindale, and I do like Martindale.
It's tough,
Yeah, I'd probably have to lean Oklahoma's staff,
which is wild,
which
even
is
though they have Chip Lindsey and Wink Martindale on that side.
yeah. I'm probably leaning Oklahoma,
But
but
is that
Sharon
more of a
Moore
testament? Is
used to
that
be
more of a testament to how high you are on Ben Arbuckle? Like,
the Arbuckle Mateer stack is awesome, and the health of Keontae Lewis and Deion Burks was very exciting. That was what I love to see, and they didn't even try to run the ball, which was really interesting. Like, are they saving Jaden Knott? Like, I was looking around trying to find answers about why their running backs didn't get a ton of play, and I couldn't find a definitive answer that I trusted. So I'm not sure on that. We'll have to see. Something is telling me though to take Michigan plus 5.5. I just feel like potential backdoor cover is totally in play. I think an outright win is absolutely not off the table. The only thing I'm worried about is outside of Klein, who's the tight end, and stop me if you've heard this before from Michigan. Outside of the tight end, who do they have at receiver that can separate against Oklahoma? I don't know. Like that is a concern. I think absolutely very right to be concerned about that. The other thing too on the other side of the ball, just Jayshon Barnum like being ejected off a pretty terrible call of targeting. He's gonna miss the first half for them. He's a stud linebacker for them. They've got talent and depth at that spot, so I'm not too worried, but he's a big time playmaker, and he will be missed obviously in that first half. The first half, New Mexico too. Like, yes, if you look, like it was a game in that second half, but Jason Eck is awesome. Like, I think people
so
have to
good.
inflate. Like, people do not inflating enough of what New Mexico can do to you offensively with their schemes and trick plays and all that stuff that they did. So that's just part of the Jason Eck experience, which you'll come to learn at New Mexico, which we tried to tell you about back in February, March, or whenever we were doing those breakdowns of the coaches for New Mexico. But yeah, man, it just feels like Michigan plus 5.5. Even though everything is telling me, like personnel wise, matchup wise, take Oklahoma, but I got Michigan 5.5. Gut feeling, call it.
New Mexico turned the ball over 5 times, still scored 17 points, held Michigan to 34. That's
That's a little
crazy.
concerning about
That's
not
crazy.
capitalizing on the interceptions. That's definitely something to worry about.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, 6 of 13 on third down. It's not like they're actually probably pretty similar to Oklahoma, in terms of third down, fourth down efficiencies. Both teams were penalized a pretty decent amount in their opener, so like that'll be interesting. I'm sure they'll have. You think it'll be what kind of crew will it be there? It probably won't be an SEC crew, would it be?
I'm
I don't
not
know.
sure.
Maybe that could play factor in margins as tight as these, but uh, for honestly, like how bad we've seen quarterback play in the SEC so far in terms of like some teams and their expectations. Taylor Green was great. Obviously, Diego Pavia was great. Austin
Lagway
Simmons was
looked
pretty
good.
good. Lagway looks. I mean, those were all against like FCS teams. Same thing with John Mateer. He looked good as well. But uh, I know the SEC has been getting rocked by the Big Ten pretty recently. But I just like Oklahoma in this spot. Sue me. Now, here's the thing. Bryce Underwood, with 10 games under his belt,
Yeah.
different story for me. Different story. It would be hard not to take Michigan plus 5.5.
What I will say too is, like, fast forward to Monday, right? If Michigan does win, like, to me, it changes my outlook on Michigan a whole heck of a lot more than it would change my outlook on Oklahoma if Oklahoma were to win. Now, assuming it's not some crazy blowout or some injuries happen, right? Let's just call it a typical 1-score, 2-score game, whatever it may be, something realistic. If Michigan wins, goes on the road, Bryce Underwood looks good because he has to look good to win this game. That's a really, really dangerous squad there in the Big Ten, and that could be really interesting to watch. And Oklahoma obviously you talked about it being feels like a must-win game for both these, and it could be with the way momentum goes and all that kind of stuff building. But Oklahoma can still do a lot of things if they do lose. But if they do win too, I mean, that's obviously gonna bolster them into their SEC play. But yeah, if Michigan win here, I don't think the world's ready for that. If Michigan beats Oklahoma the week after Ohio State beats Texas, yeah, not ready for it.
Boston College is going to Michigan State as 3.5-point dogs. That implies, CD, that Vegas sees these teams in similar light. Michigan State and Boston College.
Hats
Tip of
off
the
to
cap.
Bill O'Brien and
Tip of the
Jonathan
cap.
Smith too, but
Yeah. But
more so Bill O'Brien.
boy. And people forget the tear that Boston College went on at the end of the season for Boston College standards, right? They went on a tear. Syracuse, top 25 win. 2 weeks later, you blew out UNC at home. The next week, you manhandled Pitt, who, didn't have their best season, but they ended up making a bowl game in the second half of that year. Yeah, and then, sure, things didn't go the way that you wanted to in that bowl game against Nebraska, but boy, you could have absolutely won that game. I remember watching that game, having bet on Nebraska and being immensely frustrated that Nebraska just wasn't capitalizing on things. So, boy, or getting lucky, I guess, that Nebraska made lots of mistakes in that game. Boston College didn't necessarily capitalize like they could have with Grayson James at quarterback. Enter Dylan Lonergan. What quarterback fits better into that Bill O'Brien offense than Dylan Lonergan? Guy that was highly touted recruit that went to Alabama, but maybe overshadowed by the Ty Simpson, right, in that recruiting class. They were in the same recruiting class, right?
Ty Simpson? No, he was in the same recruiting class with Eli Holstein, who's Pitt.
Okay. Well, brutal for Alabama, I guess. 2 starting quarterbacks that are looking a lot better elsewhere. I mean, there's just one game. It was against Fordham. But Dylan Lonergan, remember all those practice reports, CD? Like a year or two ago? Dylan Lonergan this, Dylan Lonergan
True
that. Dylan
freshman,
Lonergan
yeah.
pushing. Dylan Lonergan this, I mean, you just heard it through the grapevine, whispers of this guy that has an absolute hose attached to his arm. To be honest, CD, I think I like Boston College in this spot. A lot of momentum coming on from last year. I get Michigan State maybe is more talented, and Aiden Childs is explosive, and Jonathan Smith is a great coach, right? And there could just be a situation where Michigan State just leans on Boston College and finds a way to grind it out. Okay. But it's not like Michigan State looked awesome last week, right? Against Western Michigan. It's not like they looked great. So is this me overreacting? I don't know necessarily, because I think I'm also pulling a lot from last year's Boston College stretch that they had at the end of the year. And I mean, for that team to make a bowl game last year, awesome. Awesome. Having to switch your quarterback to Grayson James in the middle of the year. And Grayson James, by the way, was not amazing at FIU. You brought him in to push Tommy Castellanos, and then he ended up taking the job. Like, what? I like Dylan Lonergan and Boston College here. Feed me, plus 3.5. I know you're going to fade me, so do it.
I will, man. And I know there's a lot of reasons to like Boston College, and I do. And, like, Dylan Lundgren's awesome. Lewis Bond is a pretty good player as well. My concern is with running the football. Like Turbo Richard, right? Like it has to be better than 3 yards a carry against Fordham, right? Like Jordan McDonald has to be better than 3.3 yards per carry against Fordham. Now you're going on the road against Joe Rossi. By the way, that's a great under the radar coaching matchup this week is Joe Rossi, a defensive coordinator from Michigan State versus Bill O'Brien, play caller for Boston College. So that's really intriguing. I thought Michigan State defensively looked pretty darn good. And now I know offense, it wasn't super clinical, right? I mean, yes, it was 21 points in that first half. Aiden Childs was efficient, which was nice to see. I expect him. I still think like potential for him is to be way more dynamic than that. So like that's where that kind of comes in. And him versus Longrim is going to be awesome to watch. Mekhi Frazier ran hard for Michigan State. And then the duo of Amari Kelly and Nick Marsh, I think, is actually really underrated in the Big Ten.
And Krishan McCray, coming from Kent State, also is a really explosive player as well. I
was,
like him too.
He was very solid. So that'll be interesting. And I hate to take Michigan State. It's like I was going back and forth on this game, and I look back on all my picks this week that we've previewed, and I am taking every single Big Ten team except Iowa. Shout out Iowa. But I just think Michigan State's going to get it done. The problem is like both these schedules that these two teams have, they're kind of tough. Like they're not easy. And if you're Boston College, if you're Michigan State, you're looking to make a bowl game, right? Obviously, the expectation is 7-8 wins, right? But you're trying to make a bowl game. This is a big win for either one of these teams out of conference, and try to build some momentum. Boston College and the out of conference still has to play Notre Dame, so it's that time of the year, or it's that year in the calendar that they have to play Notre Dame. They also have Clemson, Louisville, SMU, Georgia Tech at Syracuse, plus the kid from Cal. The quarterback there is dynamic as well, so you don't want to have to see him on your schedule. And then Michigan State, they do not have it easy either. At USC, at Nebraska, back-to-back weeks. UCLA, at Indiana, Michigan, at Minnesota, Penn State, Iowa on the road. Like it doesn't get easy. So if you're trying to win 6-7 games, this is a huge game for both these teams. I'm going to go Michigan State. I hate that it's above a field goal, but I'll take it anyways. -3.5.
I don't blame you. It's a little scary that they didn't score a touchdown or anything in that second half, aside from a safety against Western Michigan. But like, why was that though? I mean, I don't. I guess 4th 13 on 3rd down is what'll do it. That's what does it. I see your concern with Boston College not being able to run the football very well. But also, like, I felt like that was the case last year early in the season. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, like, Kai Robichaud, didn't he have like 200 yards against, he had 200 yards against Syracuse. They absolutely blistered UNC on the ground. Robichaud, another 100 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's in them. I don't know what went on there. I think week 1 is weird. You can't necessarily take everything and slap an identity on some team and just say, "Oh, this team is that," because that's what they did in week 1.
Yeah.
Like for instance, like Texas A&M didn't run the ball that well against UTSA this past weekend. We know that that's one of the better offensive lines in college football. We know that that was the best rushing attack in the SEC up until Le'Veon Moss got hurt. I don't know. It's hard to make definitive calls about teams this early. So I'll take Boston College +3.5. I'll fade you, and I'll take them to win. Don't love it though. Will not be betting on this team. But boy, I wish the best for Dylan Lonergan, man. I think he found himself in a really good spot. And I think Aiden Childs as well found himself in a good spot in that Jonathan Smith system. But hopefully both these guys can take a jump so we can see a really awesome game in a prime time. 6:30 p.m. Central. Let's go, man. I'm excited for this game. Let's go over now to our best bets of the week. Last week, I did not give you guys a great showing. I only had 3 bets for you guys. I tried to be conservative week 1. Toledo plus 9.5 hit, barely. That was a huge backdoor cover from Toledo. Although they could have won that game, but Oregon State got smacked by Cal. That was terrible play. And then Baylor got smacked by Auburn. That was terrible play. So honestly, I very well easily could have gone 0-3. So not a great week for me. You, on the other hand, 4-2. You did have Bama. That was tough. And Texas. That was tough. But guess what? Texas could have won that game. And then the rest of your picks smacked. Texas State minus 13.5. Bang. Utah State minus 5.5. Bang. They won by 12. South Carolina minus 7.5. Bang. They won by 13. Utah minus 6. Play of the year. Right? I think you might have even gotten it at 5.5. Either way, smack. So 4-2, you got to be feeling pretty good for what's coming up this week. I know you got plenty of plays for us, and I'll let you start us off.
Yeah, so I'm looking here. We'll start. I think it's Friday night actually. So start the weekend early. Why not? NIU is coming to College Park, Maryland. Maryland is is favored by 17.5 at some lines. I'll take that. I think that quarterback's a special player, Malik Washington. Maryland also, Northern Illinois is replacing a ton of talent. They struggled last weekend with Holy Cross, and they needed fourth quarter kickoff return for a touchdown to get them going. Holst is an interesting quarterback there, but nonetheless, I think Washington's a special player for Maryland. I think they get it done. I was very hesitant to lean on board. Very impressed against a pretty good or talented FAU team, as well as very well coached with Zach Kitley, and their defense shut them down. I know, Veldkamp, had 220 yards, but it took him 49 attempts to do so. Boy, oh boy, was I impressed with Maryland. Give me 17.5 for the Terps.
Yeah, that's not crazy. For all the reasons that you just said, I like that a lot for you. I do have some big dogs or some big favorites on my card, but I'm going to start with a American Conference matchup right here. UAB at Navy. We're not picking a side. We're going over 57.5 for this game. I will say Jalen Kidna and the UAB offense looked a little bit more sharp in that second half. In that comeback win, they didn't look great. Navy's defense, I know, is a little bit better, but they can be leaky at times. What I do know is that Navy will put up 45 points of their own. Right? It's tough to bet on Service Academy overs. I know. But I am anticipating Navy putting up 45 of their own. 45-14. All right? Call it just like that. That cashes for me. So UAB and Navy, I know it's pretty gross, but over 57.5.
That is awesome. Why not get stinky this early in the season? I love that. Quick one here. Ole Miss, you can get it at -10. We talked about that, earlier in the video when we previewed that game. All the reasons we talked about. I think this could get into 3 touchdowns or more. Yeah, give me Ole Miss -10, even on the road.
I want to take that one so bad, and I'm gonna regret
It's a trap.
not taking it.
It is a trap.
That's why I can't take it. But boy, is it! I don't blame you, man. 9 times out of 10, that's hook, line, and sink, and it's got me. I'll take a favorite here though. I'll take UTSA -4.5 against Texas State. 0 pre-snap penalties from UTSA in front of 107,000. A top 10 attendance all time at Kyle Field for that game. 0 pre-snap penalties. That's insane. When Bryce Young came to town, there were like 6 or 7. I mean, it gets loud there. It is hard to hear. Crowds swaying back and forth. It's a tough place to play. They handled themselves very well. Owen McCown looked really good. Those receivers are finally healthy. Their offensive line's all seniors. Their defense looked better than I expected because they were replacing all 11 starters on defense. With I think the exception, maybe Jacoian Rogers was a starter last year. But yeah, I like UTSA -4.5 against Texas State, even though they had a redshirt freshman there at quarterback looking pretty good at Texas State there last week. That helped you cash your -13.5 for them. So I'll take UTSA -4.5.
Yeah, I thought about that game. I just can't fade GJ Kinney this early in the season. I don't know how dangerous they're going to be. So
I get it.
That's the one thing. But I don't hate the play there. I know you watched that game pretty intently with UTSA, so if you're feeling good on that, I like to play there. And that's a good coaching staff and crew there. So,
Sorry, if that's a biased play, too biased of a play for you guys because you guys think of some like crazy Homer Aggie. It's like, oh, trying to justify, why we didn't cover the spread. I get it, all right, but I'm just telling you what I saw.
That's awesome. I'll go Tulane at South Alabama. But by the way, love that they're playing in Mobile. Tulane -10 is going to be my play though as a road 10-point favorites. That's scary. I know I've got 2 of them already, and I've only given out 3 picks, so don't love where I'm at there. But here's what I'll say: that Tulane Northwestern game. I know Northwestern's not going to do anything special in the SEC or in the Big Ten, and Preston Stone looked awful. I mean, awful at quarterback there, but they dominated them physically. Retzlaff looked great for just getting there. He's really dynamic with the ball in his hands. I think they run the ball well with Maurice Turner. They got some good weapons there out wide. I think this Tulane and John Summerall is as good as it gets, right? At the coaching position, especially in G5. Although we like Major Applewhite there at South Alabama, so excited to see what he does in year 2. But South Alabama, I thought defensively scares me a little bit. They gave up a little over 5 yards per carry to running backs, right, against Morgan State. That's something that's concerning, and with what Retzlaff does with his legs is pretty concerning. I know Davenport's a good quarterback for you, and it's finally Kendra Bullock's, like, it's his backfield, so he's obviously a very good football player for you. But that's – and Volson is a good player at wide receiver, but – I don't know. I just think 10 is not enough for this Tulane team that I saw physically dominate Northwestern. I expect them to do the same to South Alabama and lead them to cover by more than 10. Should be 3 touchdowns, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's one of those games where, like, I see it, and I'm trying my best not to overreact to things I saw in week 1. But if there was, I would pick that side as well if I was to be on one. Here's a bit of a stinky one: Houston versus Rice. All right, little H-Town magic over here. I think this is being played in Rice's stadium, to be honest. If you can confirm that for me, Christopher, that'd be awesome. But yeah, I don't think either of these teams are going to get off to a hot start. All right, Connor Wigman looked okay. It took him a little bit to get going there. Houston didn't look great offensively in that first half. Give me first half under 21 points. 17-3. Can we get a 17-3 at the end of the first half? Thank you. And let's take that one to the counter.
Yeah, it's 7 miles from, Houston, University of Houston campus to Rice Stadium, which is where it's going to be played. I love that they're playing each other. I love that's a home and home, or that's going to Rice, which is fantastic. That's also a stinky play. You know how I feel about Scott Abel, and it could come together in week 2 with them offensively. But they're also, like, even if it does, they churn the ball, right? Like, they're going to run the football, so that clock's going to be ticking. I don't hate
so
that.
Is Houston. They didn't get the run game going like I thought that they would against, SF Austin, but I'm hoping that both these teams just try to run the ball, and we're all of a sudden you blink and clocks are at zeros in the second quarter, and we cash.
Yeah, moving on to mine here, and this is an overreaction. I'll just state this right here, so tell me if you want. You don't have to. I'm sure the public will be heavily on this pick as well. Louisiana Monroe at the University of Alabama is getting 35.5. I know. I know. I know. Boy, has a lot changed in 1 week. I know. Give me ULM plus 35.5. I love Brian Vincent. Here's what they'll do. And then, here's why, actually on the field, why, even if Alabama comes to play, I still think UL Monroe can get it done. They run the football well, right? Braylon McReynolds, McGill Tulin's own, so from Mobile, Alabama, under-recruited. Alabama didn't want him. He goes to South Alabama, heads over to UL Monroe after, and takes over the job after Ahmad Hardy's doing his thing at Missouri. They're going to run the football, man. They're going to turn that clock. And here's the thing that I do not expect to get changed in 1 week is Bama stopping the run, that. Like I do expect Brian Vincent to find ways to run the football. And to me,
wild sentence you said right there.
I know, to me, that helps you like cover 35 and a half. Now, I know if you're Kalen DeBoer and you get the chance, you're going to run up the score. Like you have to. There's no other option. If you do not cover this spread, Bama fans will still be pissed. I get that. 35 and a half, though. Let's go Warhawks.
Yeah, I think I don't even think Ty Simpson looked terrible. I think at times he didn't look great, but I don't know. I will not be on that with you. Good luck to you, Soldier.
Wait, excuse me. It's 37 and a half? Oh, that don't matter too much, but I'll take 37 and a half.
It does if Kalen DeBoer's going for 2.
Dude, that'll be a cool. Oh my goodness, man! If they are going for 2 against UL Monroe,
look, it's just practice, right? He was known for that at Washington.
Going for 2,
scoring that first touchdown, scoring touchdown, going for 2.
Yeah,
a little bit different kind of offense though. Different talent that you had there on offense, but I'm gonna go over to USC minus 27.5. All right. You cannot convince me that USC will not blow the doors off of Georgia Southern. You can say Clay Helton revenge game all you want. You can say that. Fresno State, I mean, how many yards rushing did they have? They averaged like 8 yards a carry or something like that. What are these running backs for USC going to do to these kids? These poor kids from Georgia Southern. They're going to blow the doors off these guys. And they're going to get style points here early on in the season after their blowout win last week. I think they blow out Georgia Southern. 27.5 is, I think that's way too few points. Feed me that. Right at a key number, too.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I thought about that, and then I actually wrote down, like, LOL, Georgia Southern at USC, Clay Helton revenge. So that's what took me away from that. There was a couple games I was monitoring to see if certain line movement changed or if my changed my mind, whatever. I slept on it. But, yeah, I'll go. I don't hate that at all. I was thinking the same thing. I think USC's – and by the way, too, that backup quarterback, Hassan Longstreet, like –
he looked good.
Looked good. So that's
good.
You talking about that? That's the kind of number you need to get to potentially back quarterback, getting him reps there. I'm moving the ACC. North Carolina State at home is favored by 2.5 against Virginia. I know Virginia looked very good in week 1. I know I faded them in our Dirty Dog segment, and Chandler Morris proved me wrong. Absolutely, they still struggled to run the football with their running backs. That's a concern. I think you play a little bit better defense. I know Tony Gibson's gone there for NC State, but this is a new era, man. CJ Bailey is a star. I think they win by a field goal here at least. Give me the Wolfpack. Open up ACC play with a big win against Virginia.
East Carolina made it a game there at the end.
They did
last week. But East Carolina, I mean, with Blake Harrell just finds a way, dude. That dude just finds a way. Also, I guess it was a revenge game from the bowl game, literally just a couple months before. So that was an interesting one to watch. Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I like your thought process there. I'm gonna roll with Baylor at SMU over 64.5, another giant total. But this is my week 1 overreaction. All right, this is my week 1 overreaction. Is taking this over because what I saw from that Baylor defense was abysmal. But I know that there's very few teams in America that can stop Baylor from scoring lots of points. Give me, what would that be? It'll take 35-31. That's what it'll take. Boom. Give it to me. Let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game to watch regardless. You might as well root for some points. I don't hate that here. That's a big number to get to, but I see all the reasons for it.
And I'm not normally an overs guy. You know me as an unders guy. Like, I don't normally. But yeah, 2 overs and only 1 first half under for me this week. New times.
Change, man. Yeah, I'm go to the American Conference, specifically North Texas, going on the road against Western Michigan. I got 9.5 here. Would love to get that under a touchdown where it opened, but here we are Monday night. I'll take him. minus 9.5. Drew Mestamaker, if you've been watching the show since December, since our poll preview, he's a stud, man. He is awesome. 300 plus yards against Lamar. I know it's Lamar. Save me that. It's a good football team, man. I think North Texas got a chance to surprise some teams in the American. Also, Western Michigan offensively. I know it was Michigan State, but I don't think they have the cojones to keep up with North Texas and what they can do. So yeah, give me Eric Morris. Give me the mean green here. North Texas minus 9.5, and then I think you're done, right?
I got one more, but
Perfect. Let's
North
hear it.
Texas was a cash cow for us last year. Cash cow.
They were.
Also, but I mean, I faded them heavily in the first responder bowl because of Drew Mestamaker. And I'm like, who's this guy? He hasn't started a game at quarterback since his freshman year in high school. What are we talking about? You're Texas State. Let's pound it. No, go back, watch that first responder bowl, and you will know exactly what kind of gamer we're dealing with at quarterback. And Eric Morris, one of the more underrated coaches in America from an offensive perspective.
He's got the green light for us. Like, we just trust him.
Dude. Also, I mean, you saw who they hired as their defensive coordinator. None other than our boy Skylar Cassidy from Sam Houston.
Yeah.
That is one of the more underrated hires in all of G5. So I like North Texas this year a lot. Can't get on it with you at 9.5, but should have jumped on it earlier when it opened. Last one. You've had a lot bigger spreads. Or sorry. Well, I guess your biggest spread was 35.5. I'm going even bigger one, 47.5. Texas Tech. Lay them against Kent State. Lay the points. Mitch Griffiths could be starting at quarterback, and I might be laying 47.5. But here's the thing, Mitch Griffiths will play, and it'll be in the fourth quarter, and he will throw a touchdown pass for this bet to cover. So I like Texas Tech minus 47.5 against Kent State. I mean, just more of like a Texas Tech with this offense, they can run it up on you. These running backs are really good. This wide receiver core is fantastic. Every quarterback they'll throw in this game is really good. Defensively, David Bailey, holy crap, did he look insane this past weekend. Insane. So, yeah, I like Texas Tech to cover 47.5.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I'm high in Texas Tech this year. I've got an over for them to their win total as a future, so they need this one against Kent State. But yeah, they're also a team too with McGuire. Like, they're either going to struggle with Kent State or they're going to put them away in big time. I tend to believe this team's a little bit more focused than they've been in the past, so I don't hate that at all, even though it's a huge line. Lastly, state of Florida. I'm going to go Florida minus 17 at home against South Florida. I know South Florida is getting a ton of traction. People finally know who Byron Brown is, which if you've been a college football fan, you should have known who he was 2 years ago when he was last healthy. Yeah, he's a stud. Absolutely. He runs hard, and he was throwing the ball well as well against Boise State. I think that Boise State team is definitely a big step down than they were just a year ago, but it's still an impressive win nonetheless. I was waiting for the line to get under 17.5 and get me to 17, and there it is. I love this Florida team, man. I don't think they're messing around this year. DJ Lagby looked crisp. Jaden Ball looked good. Vernell Brown. They got to get healthy, though, man. And I'm hoping that those guys that didn't play, like Mizell, Dallas Wilson, LJ McCray, Caleb Banks, Howard, or Grayson Pup Howard, like those guys who didn't play in week one, I'm hoping that was more precautionary and that they're healthy for this week because, like, they're really good football players for them. I think they can be dynamic for them. I know you've got LSU next week and Miami and Texas A&M coming up on the schedule. So you want to be as healthy as possible for that stretch. But we'll see. I still think without those guys, they can still win and cover by 17. But yeah, here we are, Florida minus 17.
Head over to the Dirty Dogs, the last segment of the day. The Dirty Dogs, if you haven't been here before, we pick straight up underdogs. Okay. The only rule is they have to be at least a 10-point favorite or underdog somewhere at least one book. Because both of mine are borderline, to say the least. Last week, I didn't do so hot. Took a huge L, Southeast Louisiana. I heard some rumor somewhere after the fact that their offense was struggling against like some local high school team in a scrimmage. Uh, those are good tidbits to know before you put them on your dirty dogs. All right, and then Ohio against Rutgers plus 510. That was close. Barker Navarro's awesome. That Ohio team is electric. Can't wait to watch them for more of the season. You were on Coastal Carolina against Virginia. That was a big L, but you gave us our only win of the week. Rice taking down the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana plus 350. So positive on the year. 1 for 3. I mean, 1 for 4 is people who are just tuning in for the first time, like, oh, what are the? I mean, that's good. All right, like that's good. That's making money right there. I think we hit about a clip about 1 in every 4, like once a week on average. We would hit one, which is pretty crazy because you're like, not my team. My team couldn't lose, you know, to Rice, as a double-digit favorite. My team, Alabama, couldn't lose to Florida State on the road as double-digit favorites. Double-digit favorites drop like flies all the time. So Tarleton, Army, another one. So there were quite a few last week that we could have had. Feels like the board is a little bit tougher to pick this week. But because you picked our dirty dog last week, I'll give you the first shot.
Yeah, this one getting a little bit more stinky at plus 750. Give me Stanford at BYU. The last time we saw Stanford, it was bad. It was bad. I understand that. I thought they played an overall okay game, like outside of quarterback. This is more of a let's just hope we see Elijah Brown. Like I've been trying to find if he's going to be starting for him. You get a bye week after your week 0 travel to Hawaii before you head over to Provo to play BYU. And BYU obviously had to play last week. I think if you stop the run, if you're Stanford, you make Bachmeier beat you, get a few guys healthy that didn't play in week 0. I just think 18.5 is too much. Now, would I love, would love to get some credit if they cover? Yeah. But plus 750, I think is stinky. It's more so just the way the board fell this week. There's a ton of 30 plus point favorites that are just, it's hard to rationally throw that on here. And then some of the other ones like in the teens, I'm actually on the road favorites. Those are on my best bets. Florida, Tulane, Ole Miss, Maryland, right? So North Texas you could find at 10. So that's all those teams I'm betting on the other side. So here we are, Stanford plus 18.5, or really plus 750 at the money line.
Yeah. No, I hear you there. I will not. That was not where I thought you were going to go with that. I'll take Missouri State plus 310. They're playing against Marshall. This is a Marshall team that we love Tony Gibson. Loved everything he said, when he was hired, how he dressed the team in his first press conference. It was awesome. It's all class. He did a great job at NC State. I just think that there's a chance here that a more cohesive Missouri State team could catch them lacking a little bit. And Marshall lost so much. How many players did they lose to either Power 4 schools, right? The NFL draft,
Yeah.
right? Or to Southern Miss.
Yeah.
It was
good roster.
Was almost all of it, right? You're having to replenish everything, and we haven't really seen Marshall. We saw him play Georgia, right? So not a great look, but I feel like the market maybe still hasn't adjusted. And by the way, you're like, oh, but Marshall covered, 38.5. Like Kirby Smart is 0-14 now in spreads of 38.5 or greater, as head coach at Georgia. And
that's great to know, by the way. That's great to know.
It's great to know. So I'm just saying, Marshall covered it. No, let's not fall for that. All right. I think Missouri State has a really good chance of beating Marshall, even in their first year as a Division I school.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I just don't know enough about Missouri State to know that. But they're looking for the first FBS win, right? That's a big deal. We were waiting on Kennesaw last year, trying to get it done, and they
missed
did
it by 1 week.
Missed it by 1 week, man. Ugh. And they beat Liberty, which was awesome. That was a huge spread, too. So that would have been big-time cash. I'll go on mine. James Madison plus 475. I hate to do this, and I'll just start a disclaimer here. I hate to do this to Louisville because I like Louisville. Miller Moss is pretty good, even though he had 2 interceptions in week 1. Isaac Brown is just a stud. He could single-handedly, win this game by 14 if you're Louisville. But it's good to see a healthy Alonzo Barnett, right, for James Madison at quarterback. I think Petaway is a legit Power 4 player. They got some talent there at James Madison. I also think, too, and not that they needed any extra motivation to go play Louisville, but you look around at the other G5 schools, like this is a massive spot for you. If you're James Madison, Friday night, right? I think it's on ESPN2, right? So the whole world could see you, or a lot of the world could see you on Friday night. You had a chance here to make your case for the college football playoff committee. It's a big spot here. Would love to see James Madison get it done. Plus 475 against a pretty talented and good, well-coached Louisville team.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't hate that at all because I'm looking at the rest of the board here and I'm struggling to find what I like. And quite frankly, I had a pick and then I switched and then I switched again. All right. I'll give you the full rundown. All right. I went from Northern Illinois. All right. Scampered over to Western Michigan.
It's our 2 teams that I bet against.
That exactly. And now I said I was done overreacting to week 1s and week 0s. But I think this is a situation where they counter each other so good because they both were terrible last week. They were both horrendously bad. I think that they're just. I might be sneakily taking Army.
I was just looking at that.
Plus
Wow.
575. We're gonna slip that one in there. Hope for the best. I think Army is better than. First of all, Tarleton State is one of the better FCS programs in the country. I think they were a top 5 team in the country. They might be better. They might be better than, say, North Dakota, possibly. So I'm just saying, both these teams are a stink fest. Kansas State, I certainly have concerns about them. So I don't know. They probably won't lose this game, but I'll throw Army plus 575 on my Dirty Dogs. I don't like anything else. Am I going to go Arkansas State on a neutral site? Plus 1100.
In Little Rock.
Is that what we're going to do? In Little Rock? Would love for the Ohio-West Virginia game to be a double-digit spread, but no. Vegas has blessed us with only a 3-point spread in Athens in that game. I thought about taking Western Michigan plus 10 because I'm Jalen Buckley, but also, dude, how many guys did they lose on that offensive line? That was a dang good offensive line that they had last year. A dang good one.
Yeah.
So, and defensively, North Texas, I couldn't do it. I couldn't put. Now, historically, whenever I put something on the Dirty Dogs and it's on your best bet, historically it totally smacks. So
yeah, you went outright.
It's possible.
Most of the time there. So I'm glad you didn't do that because you're about to mush a couple of my bets there. Oh my god.
There may be some crossfire there. Indirectly, I might have just cursed your boys over there in Maryland and North Texas, but that's what we got. Stanford, Missouri State, James Madison, and Army. That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Week 2 preview on the Redshirt Sophomore. Pumped. Saw a lot of week 1 games where TCU North Carolina is wrapping up as we speak. Not a great first game for Bill Belichick and the Fighting Gio Lopez's. So we'll talk about that, I guess, probably next week. I mean, it's only going to really be one video a week from us for the most part for the foreseeable future. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe if you like this kind of content. Stay with us. And CD, anything else on the way out?
Yeah, it's not going to be your 3 top 10 matchups, all that kind of stuff that you saw in week 1, but there's a whole heck of a lot. The board is awesome this week. You're going to have good football played starting from Friday night the early window on Saturday is fantastic. Make sure you get all your yard work and other stuff done early Saturday morning so you're ready to watch college football all day long.
All right, we'll see y'all in the next one.